If you're a coach or service provider and you're currently using Dubsado and you have really fancy contract invoices proposals that you're loving, but you're kind of frustrated with everything else that Dubsado can't really do when it comes to client management, you're not crazy, you're not alone. It's just not the tool for anything else really in your business. And in this video, I'm going to show you what you're missing. Hey, if we haven't met yet, I'm Ashley and I help coaches and service providers set up seamless automated client management systems so you can work fewer hours without sacrificing your client experience. So every coach and service provider needs a client CRM, and Airtable, hands down, is the best and most customizable CRM software out there. It is an amazing source of truth for your leads, your applications, your sales calls, your client management, client results tracking, and all of the data that you need to run your business. So if you are currently using Dubsado and you're not using Airtable, it makes sense why your client management is feeling clunky. But here's the thing, Airtable doesn't take payments, it doesn't generate proposals, and it doesn't do e-signatures. So if your offer needs polished proposals, contracts, and invoices, you need a second tool for that. Dubsado is an amazing tool for this. Now, I will say there are lower cost alternatives to a contract, invoice, and proposal, but if you need something sophisticated or if you already have a contract, invoice, and proposal workflow that you're really stoked about in Dubsado, you can totally keep it and connect it to your Airtable CRM. So Dubsado is about $55 a month, and it's great at one-click proposals, contracts, and invoices. If you have sophisticated billing needs, then it's honestly one of the best options out there. If you have a simpler offer that maybe doesn't need all the bells and whistles, there's actually going to be another video on this channel that shows you how you could save that $55 a month and use way lower cost alternatives for that. But if you need it, then this is absolutely the best software for it. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how Airtable and Dubsado can work together. What lives in Airtable, what stays in Dubsado, and how they connect so your lead pipeline stays clean, trackable, and updated automatically. And if you're interested in seeing my full Airtable Client Hub setup in action, I have a free Client Hub demo and masterclass linked in the description, so make sure you go and check that out. Okay, let's get into the video. All right, I'm going to show you what this looks like. So do not do your application in Dubsado. They have forms. Don't do it there. Build your application in Airtable. So I'm going to put this here. So we always do when we test, we do Ashley test and the date. So 2/03 and the time. So 6/3/9. That's going to create like a called an infinity address or something. And basically it makes it so every test is treated like a new one. So country. Of course, you can do whatever makes sense for your application. Why are you interested in joining? Are you ready to invest? Here's our values. Please mark if you're aligned. You can make this form. You can make it prettier than this, but it's not as branded as Dubsado. If you want super branded stuff, you can use another software called Fillout, which we really like as a form builder, but never ever use Dubsado forms. Always either Airtable or Fillout. So this is the application, and we're going to hit submit. And the client would get an email with next steps there. Now, what we have is with our automations, it's super cool. You can say in Airtable, like when a record is created in the applications, it can auto email the client depending on what they said. So this person said, I'm aligned and I'm ready to invest. So that means that an email is going to send to them with their next steps to book a call. So right away, if you are doing like manual reviews of applications, you don't have to do that with this Airtable system. You can literally set it up so it can auto accept or reject, or if you do want to review, then it can do that. So this automation is sending an email and it is updating the status to accepted. So if I go to my applications here, you'll actually be able to see this is the backend interface. So Airtable has really cool interfaces, which like Dubsado, you can't do a lot of flexibility with, but here you can. So you can see here are all of our test people, and this is the one that we just did, and that person is accepted. You can see it auto-updated to accepted. And we can also see our acceptance versus rejected rate. So any types of data you want to see about your applications, you totally can. So I'll just like show you some stuff too. Like you can update this to see, I want to see what their revenue everybody had was. And I actually don't really care about this first name and last name too much. So you can see all the details here. And then if you wanted to open up the application, you can see all of their application details. So that's the first step. That's why even if you already have Dubsado applications, you'd absolutely want to move them into Airtable. There's going to be things Dubsado does well. We'll get into that, but that is the first step. Okay, and then next up after your application, what a lot of you have are sales calls. And if you just have sales calls and you don't have applications and you skip the application part, you can just hide it. So it's a very modular setup. So Dubsado has a call scheduler, but I highly recommend you do not use it. The reason being is it has zero automation capabilities to get that sales call data outside of Dubsado and into Airtable. And we need that, and you'll see why. Call schedulers that I recommend: TidyCal, Acuity, Calendly. Those 3 work well and have a ton of Zapier automations. But what we want to do is we want this client hub to be your central source of truth. If we can't get important data out of one software and into Airtable, then it's a bad software for that job. So that's why we do not use Dubsado for any call scheduler stuff. So what you want to be able to see is, like, I can go into my sales calls and see all of my past calls, and I can see my close status and close rate. This is very helpful if you're trying to improve your conversion rates over time or understand the data of how you're doing. So you can see 50% of people are becoming clients, 25% that said they just ghosted, the other 25% said I was too expensive. So you can get very clear on your past data, and you can, just with this alone, can't do this in Dubsado really, you can't be as flexible with a lot of this stuff and visualize it the way that you can in Airtable. So this is why we really like this. So you have like your application data up here, you have your sales data up here, and they haven't even become a client yet, and we're already getting so much amazing data about them. So let's say that somebody from our application, they got the application, they were auto accepted, and then they now booked a sales call. That sales call will automatically populate into your Airtable client hub, and you will go here and see all of your sales calls for today. So you open this up and see everything that they submitted through the Calendly or Acuity or something like that. And then on the call, you can see their application, so you can pull that up. So you have everything you need to crush the sales call. You can take any internal notes. If you're the type of business owner that wants to add in your sales call script or internal notes, you can also do that here. So you don't have to toggle between the Google Doc. You could literally here in this group, let's say show description, and you could say sales call script. Ask about the weather, whatever you've got there, right? So then you can see this becomes really customizable to you and your unique process. So that's what happens on the call. So you can be present, you have everything you need to crush the sales call, and now we'll talk about what happens after the sale. So up until this point, we have used Airtable for everything. So we've used it for our application, we've used it, well, not for everything. We've used it for application, we've used it to send an email via Gmail. It also works via Outlook. And then we have a third-party call scheduler that call goes into Airtable, and then you can take the notes. Now, here's where you can use Dubsado and where Dubsado can shine. There will be another video on this YouTube channel that will show you how to do the proposal without Dubsado if you want to save on that cost. But if you like Dubsado, if you already have some workflows built there, and it is a very sophisticated contract proposal invoice platform. So what you'll do is literally right after the call, you're like, you know what? They were an awesome fit. I am going to generate a proposal. So let's call it what it is. So we're going to say VIP day for Ashley Rose, your email. And then I'm going to say create proposal in Dubsado. So I create it, and that creates a record that is connected to this sales call. Now, if we pop this open, we're going to see a lot of helper text. If you've never used Airtable interfaces before, this probably looks very different than the standard data side that you're used to. But look at how clean and organized and pretty this is. So there's all of these different sections. So we've got the client details. So you'll see this is the proposal details, the first name, last name, email, and sales calls. This proposal, there is an automation that is going to create that proposal in Dubsado. So like I said in the beginning of this video, this is not a slow tutorial for how to set this up. If you want to set this up, you need my client hub template, and you should join Systems Over Stress so we can help you with that. But I do want to show you just high level general what this does. So what this is doing is inside of Zapier, it is saying there is a new record that is inside of a view called for Zapier Dubsado proposal contract invoice creation. So what that does is when we say create a Dubsado project, it's going to trigger this automation, and it's going to create a project, and we make it really simple. So the biggest thing you have to do is you have to have a project workflow in Dubsado that this project kicks off. So I'll show you what my project workflow looks like in Dubsado, but we've got the title is coming in, the client first name, last name, and the email, any other like mapped fields that you need to build out your proposal or anything like that. You can really get crazy here. Like if you wanted to add in their phone number or their address, you can pull that data from Airtable and send it to Dubsado. So it's creating a Dubsado project. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And then it's updating the record. We always like to do this. We like to close the loop. So it's going to that status that said create proposal in Dubsado. It is going to update from create proposal to proposal created in Dubsado, ready to review. So you'll see, there it is. Wahoo, it worked. So we've got that. Then we need to go into Dubsado and find that proposal. So this is some of the parts where Dubsado isn't like perfect at like auto-generating an ID that we could easily find, but there's ways to make it straightforward. So I'm gonna click that, and you can see here are all of my projects that are outstanding right now. So this is the one that I just made. So if I say open, you will see here, this is the new version of Dubsado. I'm gonna go to flows. And you'll see here, this is the flow. This is a workflow that I created that is auto-assigned from that Zap. So what it's doing, it's sending a form, it's updating a project status, and then it'll update the project status once those forms are complete. So this is the part, if you need sexy, sophisticated proposals, invoices, all of those things, then this is where Dubsado can really shine. So basically, we haven't used Dubsado for, like I said, the applications, the sales calls, any of that. We're just using it as a way to send forms and invoices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the proposal because that's what gets sent. So, and in Dubsado, I'm not going to make a big Dubsado tutorial, but basically what this does and what's cool about Dubsado, I'll drop the link in so you can see. And I did not spend a lot of time building out this form, but there are amazing service providers that make really pretty Dubsado proposals, but also simple totally works. But this is where Dubsado is maybe like a better client experience, a more sophisticated client experience, more streamlined than the other option where I show you how to use Airtable and fill out and like Thrivecart to put it all together. So you can see here, there's a proposal. You see it says prepared for Ashley. Hi, Ashley. This is pulling in from the Airtable data, which is cool. So we've got that. You can see that. Here's like the different package options. So they can select the package. They can select add-ons. So if you have a service that is more intricate, more advanced, this is why I would recommend Dubsado. If you need a proposal like this, and you can see that the proposal is like super sexy, and it has here, the contract is connected to it. You can see that the contract's name and the email, this data pulled from Airtable. And then we have the invoice. So you can see that the invoice will be here, all of that. So this is what Dubsado does well. This is it. So if you like this, you're like, this is what I want my client experience to look like. That's how you work with Airtable, still the first thing, but you've created the proposal, contract, and invoice in Dubsado, and then that's how you'll send it to the client. So if that looks good, you would go back into Dubsado and you'd say, you know what, that looks good to me. Let me go back to my project. Let me go to my flow. And what we do is we approve it. So you can technically auto approve those. I personally, especially when you're first starting with automations, I like to always just check, especially if something's sending to a client for the first time. I'm like, well, let me make sure everything's good. So what this does is after it says sample proposal sent, it's sent the proposal to the client. But what it's also done is updated the project status in Dubsado to proposal sent to client. Now, I don't really care about my Dubsado statuses that much, but what I care about is now, once it's been sent in Dubsado, I want my Airtable base, my Airtable record to be reflected appropriately. So you'll see here, we've got the proposal is proposal sent to client, contract is sent, and the invoice has been sent. So once we send it in Dubsado, Airtable is automatically notified via an automation. I'm not going to get into like super details of like how that automation is built, but I will show you. So when the project status is updated, if the project status is proposal sent, which is that's what the contains proposal sent. So if it does that, it's going to find the record in the contract proposals and invoice table. that is the name, like their client name and the VIP day name. It's going to find that record, and then it's going to update that record with those details that we wanted. So with those invoice sent, proposal sent, contract sent. So that's how that happens. So I'm showing you the back end as well as the front end, but literally once you just go in, you go to Dubsado, you check out the proposal, you send it off to the client, and then once it's been sent off, your Airtable will be able to see, yep, the proposal's been sent, the contract's been sent, and the invoice has been sent. And if you scroll down, you can then see your contract, proposal, and the invoices, and you can very quickly see what's happening, what the status is. So you can see, okay, shoot, I have 2 proposals created in Dubsado that I need to review that I haven't gotten done yet. Especially if you're a neurodivergent business owner, you forget those things. It's really easy to this helps you so people don't slip through the cracks. So you can see, okay, Ashley Rose, her proposal has been sent, her contract's been sent, and her invoice has been sent. So that's really helpful with that peace of mind. So you can see on one central spot the status of all of your proposals. And just to give you some perspective of why Dubsado is nice for this, Dubsado in one click sends your proposal, contract, and invoice. In another video, I'll show you what it looks like to not use Dubsado and use something else. But basically, you have to use an automation to create a contract link from a different thing. We like to use e-signatures. You would drop in a Thrivecart link or a standard checkout for the invoice. And so you're basically cobbling together. It can look streamlined. It's what we use, but it's not as one click, seamless, and easy. So that's why I like Dubsado for this. It's very streamlined, it's very pretty, it's very easy. So I'll show you what the email looks like for the client side so you can see, and of course you can customize this, but it says, hey Ashley, please fill out the form at the link below when you have a moment. You can of course update that to your unique language. But if we go to the proposal that was drafted, it's just like what I showed you, but I'm going to approve that sample package 3, submit and next. I'm going to do that so you can see it's super easy for the client. If you have really unique payment schedules and they're going to be different for each client, then this is also a reason to use the invoicing software that Dubsado has. It's one of the most sophisticated invoice softwares that I've found. So you have a nice contract. So I'm going to say Ashley Rose. Cool. So I, as the client, have just submitted all of those things, and I am going to pay for $1 I'm going to pay my first payment. Okay, so like I mentioned, this is a really streamlined situation. So the proposal, contract, invoice, all in one spot, super easy. The next thing that we want to do though is we want to make sure that all of those details, that the proposal has been signed, that the contract has been signed, that the invoice has been paid, that all of those details go back into Airtable. So that's what we'll do next. So if we go back to the project, we can see that the proposal has been accepted by the client, the contract has been signed with the contract date, and that the invoice has been paid. That it's a $3 project and they paid $1. And so all of the payments are linked here. So all of that is getting added from Dubsado via Zapier into Airtable. So I'll show you what that looks like. Once the proposal is accepted, a project status is updated on the Dubsado side, and that's going to trigger this Zap to find the project in our proposals table, to find that record, and then update that to proposal accepted by client. So that's how that one happens. So we're using a lot of Zaps, but they're pretty straightforward once you get the hang of them. The contract, once that's signed, there's a very simple automation that says when the contract is signed, go ahead and find the project and update that record to contract signed and the sign date. And the payment one is a little more complex. So what that one is actually, it's not complex at all. I lied. When a new payment is received, create a record in Airtable, but it's actually creating a whole other record in a payments table. That's why I called it complex. So it's got the client name, the client email, the invoice number, the project title, the amount paid, the total invoice amount, and the invoice ID. So all of those things will go right into Airtable, and then there'd be an Airtable automation that would connect that payment to the record. And as additional payments come through, those would be linked to the project and the proposal. So you can see, okay, now she paid $2 and it's a $3 project. So you can see when they've all closed out and totally paid up. So you have to know what you're doing to set all this stuff up. But once it's set up, it is really streamlined, easy to go, one click, everything is connected and talking to each other. So if you like the end goal of this and you're like, wow, this looks so streamlined. It's so easy to see. I can see the value in this, but I don't want to set it up myself. You can hire me and my team to set this up for you. We have different options. We have the DIY option, which is like our client hub template that if you're like, I'm techie, I could totally figure this out. You can just grab our template, go through the trainings and be good to go. If you want to set it up with us, with our support, we have a 12-month system support container where you can go through the trainings themselves. But then if you have questions or if you want to help customizing or if you just feel better knowing that there's tech experts on call for you, then you can join Systems Over Stress, our 12-month group program. Or we have a totally done for you option where you just tell us what you want, tell us what your offer is, and we will set this up on your behalf. So lots of different ways that we can help you with this. But this is like the best CRM system that you can have. So I'm obsessed with it, and this is how Dubsado works with Airtable. So pretty much after this, we're into the actual delivery of the offer. This video is specifically showing how Dubsado and Airtable can work together from discovery to actually booking the project. If you have other questions about how to deliver your offers through Airtable, of course, this is just the first step. Then we actually, once they're a client, we use Airtable to totally deliver the offer and have it as streamlined and automated and as easy as you see here. Yeah, I hope this was helpful to see. And if you have any other questions, you can always let us know. Drop a note in the comments. And if you want more Airtable tips and tutorials and client management and all that stuff, be sure to subscribe to the channel because there's a lot more coming your way.